He destroyed our marriage with one night of betrayal, so I rebuilt my confidence with one night of my own. He thought I'd never have the courage, that I'd cry and beg for his love. Instead, I slipped on a dress he hadn't complimented in years, walked into a bar, and let a stranger make me feel alive again. The next morning, I woke up glowing. He noticed. "You look different," he said, narrowing his eyes. I smiled and whispered, "Now we're even." His face darkened, and that's when he realized he had just lost the power he thought he had over me. I never imagined I'd be sharing my story here, but I need to get this off my chest. Maybe writing it down will help me process everything. So, here goes. I've been married to my husband, Mark, for over 15 years. We met in college, fell in love quickly, and built a life together in Chicago. We have 2 wonderful kids, a comfortable home, and a routine that, while sometimes monotonous, felt safe and familiar. I thought we were solid. I thought we were happy. That illusion shattered about 3 months ago. It was a typical Friday evening. Mark had mentioned earlier in the week that he'd be working late to finish a project. This wasn't unusual. His job in finance often demanded long hours. I decided to surprise him with a late dinner, thinking we could share a meal when he got home. I prepared his favorite lasagna and waited. By 10 p.m., he still wasn't home. I called his cell, but it went straight to voicemail. Concerned, I tried his office line. No answer. I told myself he was probably caught up in work or maybe his phone died. But a gnawing feeling in my gut told me something was off. I decided to check the Find My iPhone app we both had installed for emergencies. When I opened it, I saw his location pinging from a hotel downtown. My heart sank. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he was meeting a client? Maybe there was a work event at the hotel? But deep down, I knew. I couldn't just sit there. I grabbed my keys and drove to the hotel. The whole way there, my mind raced with possibilities, each one worse than the last. When I arrived, I parked across the street and just watched the entrance. About 20 minutes later, I saw him. Mark walked out of the hotel lobby, laughing, with a woman on his arm. She was younger, maybe late 20s, with long blonde hair and a figure that made me instinctively pull my coat tighter around myself. They didn't notice me. I watched as they hailed a cab, her hand resting familiarly on his chest. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I drove home in a daze. When Mark finally came home around midnight, he smelled of alcohol and a perfume I didn't recognize. I didn't confront him that night. I couldn't. I needed time to process. Over the next few days, I became a detective in my own home. I checked his phone when he was in the shower, nothing suspicious. But then I remembered he had an old iPad he rarely used. I found it tucked away in his office. When I powered it on, it was still logged into his email. That's when I found the emails. Hundreds of them. Messages between Mark and Jessica. They'd been seeing each other for over a year. They met at a conference in New York and continued their affair here in Chicago. Reading their exchanges felt like a knife twisting in my heart. They shared jokes, intimate details, and plans for future rendezvous. He told her things he hadn't told me in years. I felt like my world was collapsing. The man I trusted, the father of my children, had been living a double life. I didn't confront him immediately. Instead, I started focusing on myself. I realized how much I'd let myself go over the years, always prioritizing the kids, the house, and Mark's needs over my own. I joined a gym, started eating healthier, and even took up yoga. Slowly, I began to feel more like myself again. One evening, while Mark was working late, again, I decided to go out. I put on a dress I hadn't worn in years, a deep red number that always made me feel confident. I did my hair and makeup, something I hadn't bothered with in a long time. Looking in the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back, but I liked her. I went to a bar downtown, one I used to frequent with friends before life got so domestic. I ordered a drink and just sat there, soaking in the atmosphere. It felt good to be out, to be seen. That's when he approached me. A man, maybe a few years younger than me, with kind eyes and a warm smile. We started talking. His name was Daniel, visiting from out of town on business. The conversation flowed effortlessly. For the first time in years, I felt desired, attractive, alive. One drink led to another, and before I knew it, we were laughing like old friends. He complimented my dress, my smile, the way I twirled my hair when I was thinking. Things Mark hadn't noticed in years. I don't know if it was the drinks, the attention, or the months of pent-up frustration and betrayal, but when Daniel suggested getting out of there, I agreed. We spent the night together in his hotel room. It was passionate, exhilarating, and, for a brief moment, made me forget all the pain Mark had caused. I felt empowered, like I was reclaiming a part of myself that had been lost. The next morning, I left before Daniel woke up. I didn't leave a note. It wasn't about starting something new, it was about finding closure for myself. When I got home, Mark was already up, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee. He looked at me, eyes narrowing. "Where were you?" he asked, suspicion lacing his voice. I met his gaze, feeling a newfound confidence. "Out," I replied simply. "You look different," he said, scanning me. I smiled, a genuine smile. "Do I?" He nodded slowly, realization dawning on his face. I leaned in, close enough that he could smell the faint trace of Daniel's cologne on me. "Now we're even," I whispered. His face darkened, anger and confusion battling within him. But I didn't stick around to see which emotion won. I turned and walked away, feeling lighter than I had in months. I don't know what the future holds for our marriage, but I do know that I'm done being the victim. It's time I start living for myself. He didn't say anything that day, just sat there with that stunned, unreadable look on his face. Like he was trying to solve a puzzle that didn't come with a box picture. I went about my day like nothing happened. Made breakfast for the kids, folded laundry, even watered the plants on the porch, routine stuff. But I could feel him watching me. Silent, calculating. That night, I slept in the guest room. I didn't say why. He didn't ask. A week passed, then two. He didn't bring up that morning at the table. But something in him shifted. He started acting weird. Not guilt weird like before. Possessive. He started coming home earlier, watching me closer. He'd check in more, calling in the middle of the day, texting things like, "Where are you?" and "What are you doing?" Things he never used to do, not even when we were still good. I ignored it. I was still working on myself. Still going to the gym. Still dressing up, even if I was just going to run errands. I wasn't doing anything wrong. But suddenly, everything I did became suspicious to him. One night, about a month after that morning, I came home from yoga and found him sitting in the living room, holding my phone. My locked phone. "How long has this been going on?" he asked, not looking at me, just scrolling. I froze. My heart dropped. I didn't even know how to respond. "What are you talking about?" "You and Daniel," he spat the name like it was poison. "From the hotel." My mouth went dry. I hadn't mentioned his name. I was careful. I deleted everything. Or at least, I thought I did. He tossed the phone on the couch and stood up, towering over me. "You think I wouldn't find out?" My brain raced. Had I left something? A photo? A location pin? A receipt? "I told you," I said calmly, trying to keep control of my voice. "We're even." He laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "Even? You think that made us even?" And that's when I realized he didn't feel guilty. Not really. What I did didn't make him see the damage he caused. It just bruised his ego. It made him feel like he wasn't the one holding all the power anymore. "Do you love him?" he asked suddenly. "What?" "That guy. Daniel. Do you love him?" I blinked. It was one night. He stared at me, lips tight. "Then why does it feel like you left me that night and never came back?" And maybe he was right. Maybe a part of me did leave him in that hotel room. A part that didn't beg anymore. A part that stopped waiting for him to notice me. He stormed out that night. I didn't ask where he went. I didn't care. I sat on the porch and listened to the wind hit the leaves, letting it carry away the pieces of what used to be us. The next morning, he came back like nothing happened. Brought coffee. Made the kids pancakes. But there was something cold in his eyes. Something calculating. Like a man planning his next move. And then weird things started happening. My gym account was deactivated without notice. When I asked, they said it was requested through my email, an email I never touched. My bank card stopped working at the grocery store. Turns out, our joint account was frozen for security reasons. I knew exactly what he was doing. He couldn't control me anymore, so he started controlling everything around me. I confronted him that night. "You really think I'm just gonna let you take a free pass and walk away from this?" he asked, arms crossed. I didn't raise my voice. I just stared him down. "You cheated for over a year. I stepped out once. And now you want to punish me for taking my power back?" He shook his head. "You humiliated me." There it was. Him. Always about him. I didn't say anything. I went upstairs, took my laptop, and started opening new bank accounts in my name only. I got my own gym membership. Found a lawyer. Quietly. But he wasn't done. One night, I caught him going through my closet. I walked in, and he froze like a kid caught stealing. "What are you doing?" I asked. He held up the red dress. "That dress. This? This is what did it." I took it from his hands and folded it, calm as ever. "This is what made me feel like me again." "You looked like a stranger," he muttered. "You came home glowing, like I didn't exist anymore." "Maybe you didn't," I said. The next day, I came home from picking up groceries, and the dress was gone. I checked the hamper. The laundry room. Nothing. I asked him directly. "I threw it out," he said. "It was tearing us apart." That's when something inside me snapped. He thought destroying the dress would erase what I felt that night. That it would scare me back into the shell he had built for me over the years. But it didn't. It just lit the fuse. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I opened the closet, packed a small bag, and walked out. I left the groceries on the counter, the TV on in the living room. Didn't even look back. I checked into a small Airbnb on the north side of town. Quiet. Clean. A little space of my own. 2 days later, he texted, "Come home. Let's talk." I didn't respond. That night, I opened my laptop and saw an email from someone I hadn't expected. "Daniel. Hi. I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I just wanted to say thank you." That night, it reminded me how beautiful connection can be. "I hope you're okay. You seemed like someone who'd been waiting to be seen for a long time." And just like that, my heart cracked open again. Not because I wanted to run back to Daniel, but because someone, a stranger, had seen me more clearly in one night than Mark had in 15 years. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering how I'd let it get this far. How I'd become a woman begging for crumbs of affection, afraid to take up space in her own life. And then the doorbell rang. I peeked through the peephole. Mark. Standing there, holding something behind his back. I didn't open the door. Not yet. He stood there for nearly 10 minutes. I didn't move. Just watched him through the peephole like I was watching a live show. Eventually, he set something down on the welcome mat, took a step back, and left. When I finally opened the door, I saw it. The red dress. The same one he said he threw out. It was stuffed in a department store bag, wrinkled, still faintly smelling of my old perfume. My hands shook a little as I picked it up. I didn't know what his angle was, but I knew one thing: he wanted me off balance. And it worked. For a minute. That same night, I went to the kitchen in the Airbnb to get some water, and my phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message said, "You shouldn't be alone right now. He's not who you think he is. Check your email." I stared at the screen for a long time. Thought it might be spam. But curiosity got the better of me. I opened my laptop, logged into the email I rarely used, and sure enough, there was a new message. No subject line. Just one attachment, a folder full of photos and screenshots. At first, I didn't recognize what I was looking at. But then I saw it. Mark. At another hotel. Same city. Different woman. Different time. The timestamps showed dates going years back, long before Jessica. Some of the photos were clearly taken without him knowing. Others looked like they were pulled from security footage. There were screenshots of his private chats, apps I didn't even know he used. Names I didn't recognize. Dozens of them. My stomach dropped. Jessica hadn't been a one-time mistake. She wasn't even the beginning. Mark had been cheating almost our entire marriage. And someone out there knew. The next morning, I received another email. This one with a name. Lena. The message was short. I was with him for 2 years. I didn't know about you until the end. I found your number once when we were together, and I kept it. I hoped I'd never have to use it. But when he ghosted me like I was nothing, I needed you to know what kind of man he really is. He'll never stop. I'm sorry. I sat there for hours, rereading the messages, staring at the photos. How many times had I defended him? Made excuses for his coldness, his disappearances, the way he'd make me feel crazy for asking questions? How many nights had I waited up, thinking he was working late when he was with them? I wanted to scream. But instead, I packed my bag again, this time heading straight to the lawyer's office. I told her everything. The cheating, the control, the surveillance. I even handed her the emails. She looked at me, calm and professional, and said, "You're going to want a restraining order too." That was the moment I realized I was scared. Not of being alone. Not of starting over. But of him. Because Mark wasn't just unfaithful. He was dangerous in the quiet, calculating way that hides behind polite smiles and clean shirts. The kind of danger that gaslights you into thinking you're the one who ruined everything. The lawyer moved quickly. Within 24 hours, the papers were ready. I didn't even need to serve them myself, she arranged everything. But Mark, he didn't take it well. He showed up to my Airbnb the next day, banging on the door, shouting my name. The neighbors called the cops before I even had to. He was gone by the time they arrived, but the damage was done. My hands were shaking again. Later that night, I got another message from Lena, "Be careful." When I left, he hacked into my work emails. Tried to get me fired. Don't underestimate him. The pieces started clicking together. The deactivated gym account. The frozen bank card. The sudden appearance of my dress. This wasn't about love. This was about control. I changed all my passwords. Moved my money. Bought a second phone and gave the number only to my lawyer and my sister. I stayed hidden. But it didn't end. One evening, I checked my voicemail and heard something that made my blood run cold. It was a recording of me talking to Daniel. From that night, not the whole conversation. Just a few clips. Me laughing. Saying his name. Moaning. He had recorded me. I felt sick. I called the lawyer immediately. She told me to save the voicemail and not respond. This could turn into blackmail, she warned. But I already knew it had. He wasn't trying to win me back. He was trying to ruin me. I stayed up all night thinking. Not about Mark. Not about revenge. About me. About who I had become. A woman who was once so invisible in her own life she didn't notice the rot growing around her. A woman who had finally taken one step into the light, only to discover the man she thought she knew was nothing more than a mask. And I knew I couldn't go back. Not ever. I didn't answer Jessica's email right away. I stared at it for a long time, rereading her words like they were written in fire. I think I'm pregnant. Part of me didn't want to deal with it. I had enough to carry already. But the other part, the side of me that had been lied to, controlled, erased, needed to know. I replied the next day with just one line. Let's meet. We agreed to meet at a small coffee shop in Wicker Park, public enough to feel safe, quiet enough for this kind of conversation. I got there early, sat in a corner booth with my back to the wall. I watched everyone come in, wondering who she'd be, wondering how it would feel to finally see her face. She arrived 10 minutes late, looking nothing like the threat I'd imagined in my head. She looked tired. Pale. Her eyes had the kind of sadness that doesn't come from one bad day, it comes from years of being used. She sat down slowly and ordered tea. We didn't speak right away. Then she said, I didn't know. I swear. Not until 2 weeks ago. I nodded, unsure of what to say. She looked down at her cup. He told me you were separated. Said you were toxic. That you'd cheated on him. I almost laughed. Of course he did. She looked up at me, her eyes wet. I believed him. I feel so stupid. I didn't comfort her. I couldn't. Not yet. She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila envelope. Slid it across the table. He told me not to contact you. Said you'd twist everything. So I collected this instead. Inside were screenshots, photos, text messages, voice notes. He told her he wanted to start over. That I was keeping him stuck. That she was the only one who really understood him. All the same lines I'd heard once upon a time. And the last screenshot? A photo of a positive pregnancy test. I stared at it. My fingers felt numb. Jessica whispered, I don't want him. Not after everything. But I needed to know what kind of father he'd be. And you deserve to know what he's capable of. I didn't reply. I thanked her, stood up, and left. On the way back to the Airbnb, my phone buzzed again. Mark, we need to talk. Meet me tonight. Same place we had our first anniversary. I don't know why I said yes. Maybe I wanted to see his face one last time. Maybe I wanted to watch him squirm. I wore jeans and a plain tee. No makeup. No red dress. Just me. The woman he thought he could break. The restaurant was a quiet Italian place on the edge of town. Mark was already there, sitting at a booth, pretending to look calm. He smiled when he saw me, like we were on a date. I ordered your favorite wine, he said. I sat across from him. You can cancel it. I'm not staying long. He leaned forward. Look, I messed up. I know that. But we can fix this. You and me. The kids. We're still a family. I stared at him. She's pregnant. His face didn't change. Not even a flicker. She thinks she is, he said smoothly. It's probably not even mine. She is proof. He waved his hand. Women lie about this stuff all the time. That was it. That was the moment. The mask cracked just enough. I slammed the manila envelope on the table. People turned to look. He froze. Read it, I said, my voice loud, steady. All of it. Read what you said to her. What you promised her. While I was at home, raising your children. His hands shook as he opened the envelope. The waitress paused mid-step. A couple across the room was whispering. I didn't care. He scanned the pages quickly, then looked up at me, eyes wide with something that almost looked like panic. You went through my stuff? She gave it to me. He stood up abruptly. This is insane. You're ruining my life over one mistake. I laughed. One? You cheated for years. Years, Mark. Jessica wasn't the first. She wasn't even the second. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. And then something happened that I didn't expect. The manager walked over. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to lower your voice or leave. Mark looked around, realizing people were watching. He straightened his shirt, tried to put on the calm face again. But it was too late. The truth was already out. I gave you everything, I said softly. 15 years. 2 kids. My body. My trust. And you threw it away like it meant nothing. His voice dropped. You were always too emotional. That's why I stopped, I said. Don't you dare try to blame me for what you did. I stood up. You wanted control. That's what all of this was about. But you lost it the night I walked into that bar. And you've been falling apart ever since. He didn't follow me out. Outside, the air was cold. I took a deep breath and felt something shift in my chest. Like a pressure lifting. That night, I told the kids we were moving into a new place. They didn't ask why. They'd seen enough to know something wasn't right. Over the next few weeks, the divorce moved forward. Mark tried to stall it. Tried to guilt me. Threatened to fight for full custody. Until one day, my lawyer brought in the receipts. The photos. The recordings. The pregnancy. He backed down. Jessica sent me one last message. I'm keeping the baby. But I'm not keeping him. Thank you for meeting me. And just like that, she was gone too. People talk about betrayal like it's a sharp thing, a knife to the back. But for me, it was more like drowning. Slow. Quiet. Surrounded by the illusion of calm. Until you finally fight your way to the surface. The betrayal hurt. But the silence afterward, the freedom that was louder than anything. Now, I wake up in a small apartment with sunlight in my window. The kids laugh in the next room. I drink my coffee in peace. Some mornings I still think about the red dress. I never wore it again. But I don't regret it either. Because that night, in that one choice, I found a version of myself I'd forgotten. I don't know what comes next. But I know who I am now. And that's enough.